Hello, fellow spreadsheet nerds. Welcome back. And if you were paying any attention in the gauge video, we're going to do very similar things, which are essentially copying and pasting stuff that we've already done to create 4 new charts here. I'm going to place them down here, and you'll see how this develops in the next few minutes. The first thing that we want is we're going to want a drop-down for 4 different metrics to pick from. And I will copy one of these drop downs here, maybe the bench 1RM one, and I'm going to paste it right over here, row 26, and copy, paste, and paste, so that we have 4 metrics that are all selecting from our list of all of our testing metrics. Just to pretty it up a little bit, we'll center align and vertically align each of these drop downs. I'm going to select something different for each so that it makes more sense when we go into our chart data area and start building out the data sets for these. So TBDL 1RM, I'll go with speed, score, and strength score. And I'm actually, I apologize to those watching. I'm going to do all scores because this is how I would do it. This is why I went through the scoring process. Is I really just quickly want to see how this person fares from a fitness standpoint, speed, strength, and power standpoint. Essentially all the scores that I have, I want to see quickly how does this person compare to their population or to themselves. And then if I need to, I can dig into the details of each test up here. Okay, so here are 4 metrics. We go to our chart data. And let's scroll over to this area here where we have our selected metrics, and we pretty much, I don't want to go through what all this means. You know what it means. We calculate team position and athlete all-time best, average, and worst, and then we choose in our dashboard which we want to display here. So right now we have position, best, average, worst. Now we have the team, best, average, worst, and we're comparing the player to their worst here. Maybe we can compare them to the average, whatever it may be. That's what we have there is built for this framework, and I want a similar framework here, but the metrics we pick are going to be here instead of up here. So what I'm trying to say is let's just add these metrics onto our current framework, these new ones that we select. So I'm going to go to our chart data here, and I'm just going to make a note and say that this is selected chart metrics. I don't know what to call it for right now, and let's make it gray, and we can go equals. For our first chart metric, we'll go to our testing dashboard and select the first one, power score, and move down a row and go equals, and go to our testing dashboard, select fitness, or whichever one is in our second drop down, and then equals the third one, which is speed score right now, and the fourth one equals the strength score. Perfect. Okay, and now what we can do, I hope, if we did this right, is we can copy all of these formulas that we have across here. Copy all of these formulas. And I'm going to paste them right here, and paste them right here, and here, and here. And what we should have is the exact same framework. So what I mean by that is this is the athlete's value for the event that we select. This is the best for whatever comparison we select, whether it's team, position, or the athlete's all-time. This is the average for that selection. This is the worst for that selection. If you need a review, go to the video where we build this out, and it should make a lot of sense. But all we're doing now is that when we go into our testing dashboard and we have these charts, they're also going to be influenced by our selection here. So in these charts, when we're comparing to a position, we may switch it to team, and then the charts will change to be a comparison to the team, so on and so forth. So let's start building these charts. The first way, the lazy way for me, well, because I know that I have 4 scores, and all the scores are out of 100. So what I can do is I can have all these on the same chart. Whereas if you have 4 different metrics, let's say there's 10 meter sprint times, counter movement jump heights, and bench press 1RM. Bench press 1RM, the max value might be in the hundreds. Counter movement jumps, it might be between 20 and 40. And 10-meter sprint times might be between 1 and 2. Those are all very different ranges of values, and they won't work on the same chart, whereas all of mine are from 0 to 100. So if I just select all the data that I want, so we have the player value, the best, average, worst for the position, select everything here, go to Insert, Chart. I'm just going to change this around a little bit. Instead of a column chart, let's make this a combo chart. Now what I have are the athletes' values as columns. So I'll go to Customize, Series, Column 1. These are the athletes' values. Maybe I have data labels on them and I remove the decimal places, right? So maybe we'll remove some decimal places here. There are the athlete values, and then I can change each of these from being lines. I double click on the line to get to it in the chart editor. Maybe I make it a stepped area. And this is a position average, so maybe there's no opacity. Maybe it's just a line, and it is black, right? There's the position average, this red line. Again, let's make it a stepped area, and we can make it, let's go back to that data series. Just, let's make it, what am I doing here? Because, so I chose stepped area for a reason. If I select line, that's fine, there is a line, but if it doesn't go across the entire chart, so it looks kind of weird sometimes when it only goes halfway through a bar. I just like the stepped area because it goes all the way across. So what we can do is in this line, let's change it to a stepped area and go back and change the opacity to 0, and maybe the bar is green because it's the best. And then this other one here, we can change the color to be some sort of dark red, and we can make it a stepped area and go into the data series and make the area opacity 0. And now what we have a quick glimpse of is for each of these metrics, maybe I'll change these bars to gold to match our formatting, and the font color in here to white. Sorry, I'm going a little bit overboard. But what we have here is, all right, I see the player's value for their fitness. They're way above the worst. They're above the average. They're pretty close to the best. Their speed score is just slightly above the worst. That's not great. It doesn't reach average. Strength score, their power score is terrible. It's below the worst. And the reason why that is just because in our formulas, we decided that we're only accepting values greater than 0 in these calculations. So if we were to remove that part of the equation, then all the worst would be 0 on here, but they're not, again, because we decided to say it has to be greater than 0 for it to be a worst. And that's kind of protection against getting a minimum value that's blank or that's 0 because we make an error or whatever it may be. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense as to why that is. But there's no other way for us to kind of differentiate between blanks and zeros sometimes, because in a minifs or maxifs formula, Google Sheets will treat blanks as zeros on occasion. So it's fine as is. To me it's fine, at least. Like, I get it, I understand it, I can contextualize it. Pretty much its power score is terrible. So that's the first way, it's just building it like this. And if I wanted to, I could copy this chart. I'm going to do it a different way too, that goes through each individual metric. So I'm not going to keep this chart, but we'd put the chart here and it'd span across all these things, and maybe we'd make these text color white, and I'm just going to change some things really quickly here so we can see what it looks like. We'll make the chart style no background, no border, and I want to get rid of these major grid lines, but I can't figure out how to click on them. But anyways, you don't have to worry too much about this. You can figure out how to format your chart the way that you want. Now I'm going to undo this chart, and we're going to do another one. or 4, I should say. And in other videos, I'm actually going to go through another chart type that you might want to put here for a single metric, and I'll go over some different options. This is the first one. So now let's go to our chart data. Let's delete that, and let's create a chart just for power. And if we want to do this, one chart per metric, we need to separate these. So I'm just going to select everything that I have, drag it down, and select everything that I have here and drag it down one. And the last time, let's take everything that we have here with our strength score stuff, drag it down one. You'll see why in a moment. Now let's select power here, or let's select these two, and we'll go to insert chart. And as you would expect, we kind of don't have any data in it. We just selected our x-axis, and now we can start adding series to this. But first, let's change this to a combo chart. And now when we go to our first series, we can go add series, and there have to be 2 cells in the series. And I didn't want to have 2 numbers in cells. I just wanted to have one number, the one that we want to show. So we'll select these two, the blank and the 0, and click OK. And we'll add another series and select the blank and the 100, and we'll click OK. And we'll select another series, and we'll select the blank and the 38, click OK, and another series, and we'll select the blank and the 8.35 and click OK. Now we have a bunch of little dots and whatever, but if we go to customize and we go to series, let's go to, well, column 1, the first thing that we selected is the player's value. So we do want that to be a column. I'm just going to do what we did in our last chart, and I want it to be gold. There's nothing here. There's probably a bad example. And then for our next series, which is line, the second thing that we have is the chosen best, so the best value. We can have it be a line, but it doesn't really make much sense to do that. We'll do a stepped area, and we'll make that green color. And I'm going to have 0 opacity for now. The next series, line 3, is the average, the chosen average. So we'll make that also a stepped area and go into it. And again, let's remove the opacity for now, and let's make it that black color that we had before. The third one, line 4, make it a stepped area, and let's go back to it and make it that dark red that we had before, and again, 0 opacity to start. So this would be the person's graph for power score, but I'm going to optimize this first. It's a terrible first example. I should have done one where the player has some data greater than 0. But let's make the text color white for the power score. I'm going to make the axis 0 to 105 because I know that the scores only go up to 100. If you're doing this in a way where you can select different metrics with different axes ranges, I would recommend just not setting the axis. But when it's 100 or when it's at its peak, you'll notice that the top line gets cut off a little bit, or it's skinnier than the other ones. I don't like that visually, so I'm going to 105 so the whole line shows up. We can go to edit the chart and go to our chart style, no border, no background, and I just want to get these major grid lines to be a lighter color, maybe completely white. So we'll go to grid lines and ticks. The grid line color, I'm just going to go to white. Perfect. So for me, this is fine. I know it doesn't look like much. The last thing that I want to do is I want to take away the legend. So I'll go to the legend and go to none. And that's my first chart. This is my power chart. Now I'm going to copy this chart and paste it here. I'm going to move it over and I'll paste it here. And this one will look a little bit better. Okay, so let's go to edit this chart. And now we just need to change every single series, but we know what to change them to. So instead of G19 to G20 here, we want these two, the blank and then the fitness score number. This is our fitness score chart, or whatever we pick in our second drop-down menu. Click enter, and instead of G21, G22, we're just going to move them down to these two, and then we're going to move these two to these two, and these two to these two. So let's go back into this chart, and we'll edit, and we'll change H19 to H20. We'll change that to be, again, H21 to H22, and we'll change I19, I20. change that to be I21, I22 for the averages. And the last one, J19, J20, we'll change that to be J21, J22 for the worst. And what we can do here, and once we get power data, we'll add data labels, but we'll want to add data labels, and maybe we want to make it white. Essentially, we have the same chart, but it's just, it has data in it. And we can copy this chart, and what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to fast forward through this part of the video where I just copy and paste 2 more times and change the data. You should know what to do. So I'm going to stop talking now, and we're going to edit this chart and just change our stuff that we have here, G21, G22, and we'll go G22, G23, or G23, G24 for the value, and we'll speed through this. Okay, and we're back. Now I'm going to highlight all these charts by holding down Control key and selecting them all. Control C to copy them. And I'll go to my testing dashboard and Control V to paste them, which I think I did it twice, so let's try that again. All right, so the power score goes here. The next one, the fitness score, will go here. Third one goes here, and the fourth one goes here. And now I need to make them look a little bit better, so let's narrow them down and center them. Now it's just kind of moving some things around a little bit. Things around a little bit. And I'll leave that one as is. I'll take all the other 3, bring them down. And actually, I don't think I need these bars. Now that I think about it, I don't need the vertical axes. I'm just going to change the text color to white on all of them because I know that it's all from 0 to 100. If you have different scales, you might decide not to do it that way. Off, and now I just want to make them look maybe a little bit nicer. I'm not sure how to. Maybe I just want these axes gone entirely. I wonder if I can, let's go to grid lines and axes. I'm going to remove major grid lines. I'll go to this one, also remove major grid lines. This one, remove major grid lines. And go to my last one, and let's remove major grid lines. And then what I can do is maybe I do want there to be some opacity here. So with this stepped area, maybe I want there to be 10%. And for the black one, I also want there to be 10%. For the red one, I also want there to be 10%. Now I can kind of see red. I mean, it's a lot to look at, but now there are colors in there, so we can kind of change. Let's go click on each chart. We add some opacity if we want to switch it up a little bit. Again, these are just kind of examples, what you can manipulate in charts to get them to look a way that's visually pleasing to you. And we'll go add some area opacity to this one too. And let me just change this to something else. Maybe I'll change the overall score so that I can add some values to this. So, or add some data labels to the bar. Let's add some data labels. Again, let's make them white. Perfect. I'll go back to power score now. 0. Okay, now I just want to go over two other tricks and tips with these types of charts, or any charts really. So if I move this down, we'll notice power score shows up underneath there because I had to color it white. There is no transparent in Google Sheets when you're dealing with these things. So there are 2 tricks. The first is, let's change the x-axis here. So let's change the x-axis in our chart from being F19 to F20 in our chart data to be, I don't know, just 2 random, I guess, blank cells. Maybe we'll just move them over here, these 2 blank cells. If we do that, now we don't have anything in our axis. which is great. So let's do that with all of these. Okay, so there is no axis, because our axis, or the title of it, is actually in our drop-down menu right here, so we see it right beneath the chart anyhow. So if we go to Setup, Chart Data, and again, I'm just going to pick 2 random cells in the chart data area, and actually maybe I'll just copy this, B33 to B34, and click OK. And now again, now there's no, if we move it down, there's no axis, kind of put it like right underneath there. And we'll do the same thing here. So we'll change our x-axis to be B33 to B34. Click on this chart, change the x-axis to be B33 to B34. Now to deal with zeros. If you want the 0 to show up, that's fine. If you don't, in your chart data area, what you can do under these where these player values are, is you can change the custom formatting. And the way that you do that is if we select all these cells here and we go to Format, Number, More Formats, Custom Number Format, we can decide how we want to format positive values, negative values, and 0 values. The first is positive, so let's just say 0, which means no decimal places, colon. Now how do we want to format negative values? Let's just put a 0, which again is just the number without decimal places. And then let's do a colon. And let's have nothing after this, semicolon. Let's have nothing after the last semicolon, which means that 0 values are going to be blank. And notice we have a 0 value here by our power score. We click Apply. The 0 value is now doesn't show up. It's blank. And if we go to our testing dashboard, now there's no 0 that shows up here. So if we move this up a little bit, and we move this up a little bit, I'm just trying to organize this so it looks okay. And I'll probably have to screw around with this a little bit more, but hopefully you're getting the gist of it, where we have our charts here. And in the next video, I'm going to go over a different chart that we can put here that'll be based on one of these metrics that I think could be a pretty interesting pivot from what we're doing here. Let's maybe move these charts up a little bit. Cool. Okay, so now if we kind of zoom out of our little world here, we have some gauges. We got some comparison charts that are dynamic. Right now we're comparing them to the team. If we want to compare them, let's move this up. If we want to, and actually let's make this a little bit smaller. If we want to compare them to the position, and the reason why all these bars are red is because the position, average, best, and worst are all the same, because I only have one person at each position in each team. That's also why the wing average is the same as this person's average for the team that they're on. But if we compare it to the players all time, now we can kind of see, all right, so this was this player's best of all time. And that's great. This person was below average for the all-time best. This one was not good compared to their best all-time. So you can kind of compare in different ways that way and pick different metrics. Remember, my axes are set between 0 and 105, but if they weren't set, then I could probably pick some other metrics and see some cool things. Like let's just see what CMJ average looks like, and let's remove the axis. So I'll go to Customize, and we'll go to Vertical Axis, and let's remove the bounds. No minimum, no maximum. And now it looks like a little bit better. I'm not sure what's up with these little like color things going on in the background here. Anyways, the last part of this video here, let's take all these charts and let's actually move them down, or move the axes down a little bit. And we'll just provide, this one's a little bit taller than the others. It aggravates me a little bit. Just provide a key. So I'm just gonna, 1, 2, 3. Oh, perfect. It works out perfectly. So I'm gonna merge these 2 cells, copy, paste, paste, and paste across to our 8 cells that line this, and we'll go equals the name of the person here, bold it, center it, vertically align it, and I'll make it gold. And then here we'll go equals this, so whatever we're comparing to, and then an ampersand sign, quote, and let's say best, end quote, and click enter. and we'll bold it, horizontally and vertically align it, and we'll make it green. And let's copy our formula that we just used, paste it here, and let's change best to average. Bold it, align it, make it, black is fine. And we'll copy what we have here in our formula and paste it across. And let's just go worst. And bold it, horizontally align it, vertically align it, and make it that dark red color. And now we can kind of see, I mean, it's weird that they're kind of aligned with each graph, and you can manipulate the orientation of things. But now we know, all right, so if we choose team here, now we're comparing this person to the green is the team best, black is the team average, red is the team worst, etc. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please like it, give it a thumbs up. And as always, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you find the information valuable. Thank you for watching, and in the next video we're going to experiment with another chart that compares this player to different other players in their positional group, and it kind of highlights the data for this player. And then ultimately, after we're done with that, I'm not planning on displaying that anywhere, but it'll be a good chart to know how to do. We're going to go over biggest strengths and weaknesses, and maybe at some point before this is over, I'll go over setting your own, I guess, standards and integrating them into what we're doing up here. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.